Hey y'all, I'm super excited about what we're going to cover today. There has been a $7.5 billion settlement made on the behalf of over 250,000 student loan borrowers. Now, there's been a bunch of talk about who's on the list and what school has applied. And so if you just look right here, you can see if your school was one of those that was listed. If it was and you did not fill out your borrower's defense application before June 22nd, 2022, don't fret. There's still an opportunity to fill out the application. And even if you don't get the student loan reimbursement, if you've been making payments or getting your student loans forgiven, there is an opportunity to get your student loans put back into forbearance for an additional year or up to an additional 3 years. So what we're going to go over is what's been happening with the lawsuits, the settlement, who it's being issued to, and if you did not fill out your borrower's defense form ahead of time, how we're going to shoot for the stars and hope we can still get it. But if not, hopefully land on the cloud with that additional forbearance. So let's dig into it. So let's get you all caught up with what has been happening with the class action settlement and what that looks like for you moving forward. The Education Secretary on Thursday announced a settlement of claims that would give roughly 264,000 student loan borrowers approximately a $7.5 billion in debt relief. The settlement resolves a class action lawsuit filed by lead plaintiff Teresa Sweet against Betsy DeVoe, the U.S. Secretary of Education under the Trump administration, after the Education Department sidestepped Obama-era regulations and systemically denied relief claims in form denials. It could also provide a path forward for students who are saddled with college debt because of predatory lending practices. Okay, so they went on to say it will not only help secure billions of dollars in debt cancellation for defrauded students, but charts a borrower defense process that is fair, just, and efficient for future borrowers. So the Project on Predatory Student Lending and the Housing of Economic Rights Advocates represented the plaintiffs in Sweet versus Cardona, originally Sweet versus DeVos. The proposed settlement still must be court approved in a July 28 hearing. So the type of relief will be rewarded depending on the class. So the first group of class members, approximately 200,000 borrowers whose school is on the list, will automatically get full settlement relief, which includes full discharge of their loans, refund of amounts paid, and credit repair, according to a press statement by Project for Predatory Student Lending. Now, in the second group of class members, approximately 64,000 borrowers whose school isn't on the list will get decisions on their applications within rolling deadlines based on how long their application has been pending, according to the Project for Predatory Student Lending. The second group will also be able to revise and resubmit their applications if they didn't get an approval after the initial review. If the Education Department fails to meet any deadlines, the class member will automatically get full settlement relief. Okay, so throughout this rigorous battle, their clients have continued to speak out and demand that the government make final decisions on borrower defense applications so that students fraudulently induced into federal loans by predatory for-profit schools can have those loans canceled. And that's by Joe Germilio, senior attorney at Housing and Economic Rights Advocates. He goes on to state that this settlement does not remedy all woes, and there is still a lot of work to be done to build a truly fair borrower defense process, but it does provide long overdue relief to our clients and a path towards justice for all borrowers. Okay, so this is big stuff because there are a lot of students who went and got those student loans with the assumption that they were going to be able to get this great career behind it, which would then equip them with the power to purchase a home and start a family and just really truly live out that American dream. However, we're really bitten on the back end because now they have student loan payments that they either can't afford or didn't realize the type of agreement that they were getting into. And so now they're essentially trapped by predatory lending practices. So this is a huge win for student loan borrowers. So if you're one of those people who are watching this and you're like, my school is listed, but I didn't fill out the borrower's defense form prior to June 22nd of 2022, is there something that I can still do? Absolutely there is. And that's what this video is about. So we're going to shoot for the stars. And if we don't hit the stars, hopefully land on a cloud, because even if you are not given the forgiveness, you still have the opportunity to get forbearance for an additional year to 3 years, which I think is absolutely critical, especially given how our economy is looking right now between inflation, the pending recession that I'm sure is going to be announced at the end of July after the next GDP report comes out. And, the fact that jobs are really starting to reevaluate the amount of employees that they need. And there's just so many other factors that are coming into play with the rising cost of food and all these other things, right? So we really need to equip ourselves in every way possible with what we are able to do to fight against these predatory lenders. So let's dig into it. The bar's defense application can be filled out online, or you can print out the 24-page documents and fill it out, mail it with a time date stamp. Some people look at these type of documents much like they look at the credit documents when they're disputing things off of their credit. So they want to have those time stamp documents. And so I elected to do it online because the school that I completed my master's program for was one of the schools that was listed. And since I just finished my master's last year, obviously I do have some remaining student loan debt. So this is the process in which I chose to go. So I'm going to walk you all through that. So in this part of the application, they are going to ask you which school are you listing if you attended multiple schools. I recommend you do one school at a time because they are going to ask you deeper questions around why you're applying for this borrower's defense for this particular school. So I would just break it down, take it one school at a time. You may have a school listed on the court documents that's not. You may have one school listed on the court documents and then the other school that you attended is not on those court documents. So you don't want to apply for both of them when you know that the one school that you attended is showing up on those court documents for predatory lending. So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and click the direct link to the form that you'll need to fill out, which is your borrower defense form. Okay, I have that direct link here. It's going to be studentaid.gov/borrower-defense. But the link is available for you again below. So if your school misled you or engaged in other misconduct in violation for certain state laws, you may be eligible for borrower defense to loan repayment, sometimes shortened to borrower defense. This is a discharge of some or all of your federal student loan debt. Just keep in mind that right now federal student loans are paused due to COVID-19, and so the relief for that will end on August 31st of 2022. All right, so you want to get this put in because again, you can still qualify for that 3-year forbearance. Well, it's 1 to 3 years forbearance, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to go in here and you're going to apply for borrower's defense, and then just go ahead and log in. Okay, so you're going to make sure that you read your instructions for how to apply for borrower's defense. Okay, so there is about a page worth of instructions. Essentially, you want to make sure that you're holding integrity in your application. All right, do you feel like they were unfair in the lending process when you signed up for your student loan? So you'll be able to see, it's just an excerpt from it, so you know like this is the part that you're on, but just make sure that you read through that. Okay, the borrower's defense application can be done online in 7 steps, or you can download and print out the packet and do it yourself on your own time. Once you get to step 1, make sure that you're verifying your information properly. You want to make sure your name is correct, your birth date, your social. Make sure that your contact information is up to date with the correct email, correct telephone number. Alternate phone number can be your same number twice or an actual alternate phone number. And then also make sure that your address is accurate. Okay, and then in step 2, they're going to be asking you information about the school that you went to that is associated with you, right? So which one are you using to apply for the borrower's defense? Okay, so next they're going to ask you about your enrollment process with the school that you selected. So you're going to select the program in which that you studied underneath that school. Okay, so you'll just check it off. After you check it off, scroll down. They're going to ask you in what states did you live during the enrollment period. That is the subject line of this claim. And when did you live in each state? So if you only lived in one state, just put that one state. And then you're going to enter the name under which you took the loans associated with them. So maybe there was incorrect spelling when you initially went for your loan. So you want to make sure the actual spelling of the names that you had those loans with here. That would be your first, middle initial, and last. And then are you still enrolled in the school? That's something that they're going to want to know. Now, this question right here really threw me for a loop because I actually had to Google it. I had to Google what that meant. Did you enroll at the school subsequent to the enrollment that is the subject of this claim? And so that question just always, it really throws me because I'm like, I feel like they throw certain questions in here to throw your application. So if you're not crossing your T's and dotting your I's on this application, they could just be like, they didn't answer it right. But that's a really tricky question right there. So some people look at it and they say that this means, or they interpret it as this means you enrolled into the school after a claim was filed, or you filed the claim after you enrolled into the school. So it's really tricky. The interpretation to Google is that they're assuming that they're speaking as if you enrolled again to that school. So did you finish, or did you finish and go back? Did you drop out and come back? Okay. Now, in this part, they're going to be asking about other refunds, remedies, loan reduction, or tuition recovery requests or actions. So it says, before we start to ask about your allegation, we just have a few questions. Have you made any attempt other than submitting this application to recover tuition or fees that you paid to your school, or to have your student loans forgiven? For example, submitting a closed school loan discharge application to the U.S. Department of Education, or seeking relief as a part of a class action lawsuit or settlement. Okay. Have you been, or are you currently in arbitration with the school that is the subject of this application? And so an arbitration means a procedure in which a dispute is submitted by agreement of the parties to one or more arbitrators who make a binding decision on the dispute. Whatever happened to not using the word in the definition? Do y'all remember that when we were in school, they were like, don't use the word in the definition when you're defining something? They did not listen to their teachers when they were younger. They did not. Okay, so if you already filled out any type of documentation in regards to everything that has been going on, then make sure that you select yes for that. Okay, so in this next step, they're going to be asking you about information in regards to the allegations that you have against the school. So admission selectivity, representations to third parties, urgency to enroll, and they give you descriptive answers behind the selection. Okay, so some more are educational services, employment prospects, program cost and nature of the loan, transferring credits, career services, judgment against the school, breach of contract, or other. So when we're talking about predatory lending practices, right, then we're essentially talking about, did the school misrepresent the cost of the education? Did they misrepresent the enrollment process? Okay. What was the reasoning in which you feel direct fraudulent activity happened towards you from the school? So that's what you're going to check off. And then after you check it off, they're going to ask you to explain why you feel you were wronged in that regard. So we'll just select program cost and nature of loan, right? Since we're talking about the activity there. This is not what I'm telling you to select. This is what I'm using as an example to select. Okay, again, all of this is just suggestions. I just wanted to provide some guidance to those who are asking what to do next. Okay, so then at that point, you have to go through a slew of questions. Okay, they're going to be asking you program cost and nature of the loan. Did your school misrepresent or fail to tell you important information about your program cost, the type and amount of financial aid available, or the nature of your loan? And it goes into several things that you can select in regards to that. But just make sure whatever you're choosing, you're being truthful, okay? The goal here is to get student loans reversed for people who were truly wronged and not people who just didn't want to pay their student loans. Okay, so you're going to be selecting what best fits your specific situation, and then they're going to be asking for any documentation that supports your claim. Okay. After you check off whatever your reasonings are or why you feel unfairly taken advantage of by your school, then just make sure that you upload that supporting documentation, and they're going to want you to provide a response. Now, just keep in mind, y'all, the character limit is 2,000. Okay. They don't want a whole book. Just keep it straight to the point, straight to the facts, and say why you feel the school did you wrong. Then based off of your responses, they're going to determine if there's another set of questions that you need to answer or not. If you don't need to do the next step, then it's just going to say, please continue. Like, they're just going to skip you over that portion there. Okay. And then forbearance. This is the part that I was telling y'all about. Even if it doesn't work out in your favor on the student loan forgiveness portion, they are open to extending forbearance out for another 1 to 3 years because you submitted your application for this. So take some time and read over the forbearance policy with that. And then when you go down, they're going to ask you, calculate the potential impact of forbearance on your outstanding loans should this application be denied. So if the application is denied again, they will give you a range of 1 to 3 years of potential forbearance on that loan. So either way, you shoot for the stars, you might land on a cloud with this, but having that grace, especially for the fact that we are getting ready to enter into a recession, they're having current mass layoffs with different employers. Again, a link for the borrower's defense application is in the description box below. If you're listening to this from the podcast, check the description box as well. Okay, so I hope that this was valuable to you. I hope that this helps give you some actionable steps that you can take behind the borrower's defense settlement. So if you didn't get your application in before June 22nd of 2022, you still have an opportunity to get it filed. They did not take it down. Okay, so make sure that you get your name submitted in that roll call. If you found this valuable, please just hit the like button below and don't forget to subscribe. Any comments are welcomed. Please just remember, I'm trying my best to be a valuable resource to you. Don't forget to grab your copy of Living Boujee and Balanced, Mastering Your Money Mindset Self-Discovery book. This book is a self-guided journey through your personal relationship with money. So if you found that every time you try to do a budget, you go 2 steps forward and move 5 steps back, and it's really hard for you to stick to it, chances are that you need to take off the band-aid of a budget and start to heal those underlayers of why you're operating with your money the way that you do. What caused that relationship to happen. Oftentimes we look at a budget as a heal all be all to something that took us a lifetime to create, right? Our habits around money. This book is definitely going to guide you through that process. And just remember that every copy that is purchased is autographed and signed directly to you from me. So that's going to do it for today. But until next time, Boujee Besties, I'll see you later. Bye.